guys, today it is time for another Top 5 Wednesday. This week's topic are books for your Hogwarts house, and I love this topic. I'm so excited. There's gonna be so many book recommendations for all kinds of different houses, and we're all doing the same topic, but we're all doing different topics. You know? So I am actually a Slytherpuff. I have officially embraced my inner Hufflepuff and I am a Slytherpuff, but I still 100% would go to Slytherin if I were to go to Hogwarts. Like, Slytherin is still my house. It's still where I would collect house cup points for. I would still root for Slytherin. I'm still Slytherin. But as far as my personality traits, I'm definitely a Slytherpuff. I think I have actually 6 or maybe even 7 books, and I did not rank them. I just kind of wanted to shout out some books that I feel like Slytherins might really enjoy or that have some Slytherin themes in it. Let's get the most obvious thing out of the way, and that is basically every single book by Victoria Schwab. But I think, first and foremost, Vicious. I definitely think that in general, Slytherins will really enjoy Victoria Schwab's books. She's a Slytherin herself, and I think basically all of her main characters are Slytherins. If it's a dual point of view, most of the time it's the female main character that is a Slytherin. Kate is a Slytherin, Mackenzie is a Slytherin, Lila is a Slytherin, and I'm pretty sure Victor is a Slytherin as well. I just think her books are perfect for Slytherins. Let's get the other obvious one out of the way, and that is The Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. I also am pretty sure Leigh Bardugo is a Slytherin. This is just like the perfect Slytherin story in my personal opinion, because the characters are super morally grey, but they are still fighting for what they think is good. This is like another one that just immediately comes to mind when it comes to Slytherin. I don't really think the Grisha trilogy is quite in that category, but in general I feel like probably everything that Leigh Bardugo writes will be really good for Slytherin, just in general. But I feel like Six of Crows duology is pretty perfect. And then I have Run by Cody Keplinger, and this certainly does not scream Slytherin at all. I feel like in general the kind of genre for Slytherins is like fantasy and like, you know, like dark stuff, but Run is a book that has, first of all, a main character that I think could be a Slytherin as well. She is one of these characters that kind of has a reputation without ever really doing anything, and I feel like that's very Slytherin. Like, people are saying she does drugs and she's like just a really horrible person and a criminal, when she's just not. It's just all reputation, it's all gossip, and I feel like that alone fits a Slytherin very well. But what I like so much about this element is the friendship, and while Hufflepuffs are the ones that are known for loyalty, I feel like it sometimes doesn't really stand out as much that Slytherins are also kind of loyal in their group. What's the word? Fraternity, I think, is one of the kind of words to describe Slytherins, and I just think that's really true. Like, Slytherins will do things that are maybe not good and that kind of are wrong, as long as they are, you know, protecting a friend or helping a friend. And I feel like this story is kind of really highlighting that kind of Slytherin. Then I have 2 graphic novels that I think are perfect for Slytherins, and the first one is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. The main character is the sidekick of a villain, and I feel like the villain is very like a morally grey villain, and also Nimona as a character is kind of morally grey. So it is from the perspective of a villain, but you can kind of see how also villains quite often think they are doing the right thing, and yeah, just from the perspective of someone who is a villain from the outside but is not a villain in their own story. And I feel like Nimona kind of highlights that perfectly. And then I have Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is another standalone graphic novel that I feel like does not get nearly enough hype. I think it's a beautiful graphic novel. I don't really know how to describe it or what to say to kind of explain that it is something that I feel like is very Slytherin, because first of all, I don't want to say too much about it because I went into it kind of blind and ended up loving it so much. Also, it's more of a feeling than actually like 2 or 3 things why I feel like it is Slytherin. I think it's just really something that when I look back at it, reading it, it has this tone to it that is kind of dark. And then one book that I don't really talk about much, that is definitely a book that probably a lot of you have heard about, but that nobody ever really talks about anymore, is Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. This is actually more of a middle grade book, and that's why I kind of wanted to include it. I have to say, this is not like it's a trilogy, but it's not like one of my favorite trilogies of all time. It's just kind of something that I just find really interesting and that has a very interesting concept. I just feel like it's a very dark middle grade. It has a very strong, ambitious main character, and I feel like probably she would be more of a Gryffindor, but still I feel like the book in general, or the trilogy in general, is very Slytherin. It also has a really cool villain, and there is one side character, Dustfinger I think was his name. I forget because I read the books in German, obviously, since they were written by a German author. Why would I read the translation? He is, I think, definitely a Slytherin, and he's one of my favorite characters of all time, actually. I mean, not that I'm really talking about him, but looking back at it, he is a really cool character, and I'm pretty sure he is a Slytherin. Yeah, I just feel like if you're looking for a middle grade, well, it's kind of younger YA, but if you're looking for a kind of younger series, then Inkheart or the Ink World trilogy, I want to say it's called, is definitely a recommendation that I want to give to you. And finally, I have Kiss Me First by Lottie Mogach. I still don't know how to pronounce the name at all. This book is very interesting because it has a super unlikable main character, but a very, very intriguing story. This is another one I don't really want to say much about because it's another one that I personally went into not knowing much about, and that was perfect. But it kind of takes place in a dystopian society where this kind of services. When someone wants to kill themselves, they will hire a person that online kind of takes their place. So they will tell their friends and family, oh, I am moving to, I don't know, the North Pole, and I will keep up with you online. And then they will have this person send them messages online and kind of update their statuses, and then they slowly will start kind of vanishing, so that at one point just hopefully nobody ever asks about them anymore. The main character is one of these people that gets hired to do this thing, and yeah, it's just really interesting how the main character develops and how the main character uses this position. That's all I want to say, but I feel like it's another one that's very Slytherin, and the main character isn't a villain per se, but she isn't a good person. I think it's an underrated story. It doesn't have very good ratings, and not many people have read it, but I personally think it's a really, really cool story. It's super unique. I have never read anything like it, and I think just for that unique concept, it's very interesting. You kind of have to get into it knowing that you're gonna be reading from someone that is not super likable. So these are books from my Hogwarts house. These are books that, you know, Slytherins might enjoy, that if you want to read a book with a Slytherin as a protagonist, you might enjoy. Just kind of darkish books, or not so darkish books. Just something that I feel like personally kind of fit to Slytherin, and that I feel like would be on a must-read list in the Slytherin common room. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have any Slytherin recommendations, and if you are in another house, or if you have a cool book for another house, definitely let me know down in the comments, like especially if you feel like there's one book that really, really pinpoints your house. I would be really interested in that. That's, for me personally, that's just kind of Vicious. I feel like Vicious would kind of be the book for Slytherin, in my personal opinion. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!